Hey everybody, welcome back to Horror Trans. My name is Stephanie Bree. I am a transgender woman, and I discuss all things horror. And I'm doing this video from my camera because my home internet isn't working, and I've got a bunch of videos pre-recorded, but I have no way of uploading them. So today I'm going to revisit Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Because in my original review, I was very hung up on the historically inaccurate depiction of pagans and paganism and their desire to murder people, I guess. And I didn't give the movie a fair chance. Now, when I watched this movie as a kid, I hated it because, or I should say teenager, because I was expecting Michael Myers to be in it, and I had no idea what it was going into it. So the first time I watched this movie, I was like, this is bullshit. Where the fuck is Michael Myers? I wanted a slasher, and this is not a slasher. Fast forward to last summer when I did the entire Halloween franchise and I watched every movie in the series. I kind of didn't give this one a fair shake because, as a pagan, I was very pissed off about how Hollywood in general tends to paint us as devil worshippers, which we're not. And this movie and the franchise tries to say that pagans are evil, which we're not. And so I was just like, you know what, fuck this. So I gave the movie a bad review, and I was like, don't fucking watch it. But I decided to go ahead and give it another shot. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to point out, and I'm going to do a more unbiased review this time. I'm going to leave out the whole, I'm pagan, so that's going to taint my opinion. I'm just going to be like, look, this is a thing in Hollywood. I have to get used to it. So I want to mention it, which is why I'm doing a re-review of this movie, or revisiting it, which I don't do very often. And sometimes when I revisit a movie, I change my mind, and sometimes I'm just like, nope, this is exactly what I remember. So let's talk a little bit about the movie itself. Background. John Carpenter made Halloween in 1978. This movie became the template for the slasher genre, following the success of Friday the 13th. 2 years later, a million copycats came on the scene. But John Carpenter didn't want Halloween to be a franchise. He wanted it to be an anthology where each movie was its own standalone story. But because the first movie made buckets of money, the studio was like, we need another film right now. And because he needed the money, he did Halloween 2. But he did it in a way that left it ended. It was a definitive ending. Donald Pleasence is dead, or his character, Dr. Loomis, is dead, and Michael Myers is dead, and the town is going to heal. That was the ending to Halloween 2. So Halloween 3 was John Carpenter's proof of concept that the anthology series could work. He was wrong because the movie was a box office bomb, and the studio was like, get him the fuck out of this franchise, bring Michael Myers back, and let's just, we're sorry, John Carpenter, we're going to keep your music and we're going to keep sending you royalty checks, but you're done. And so this movie bombed. Now, over the years, this movie has been very divisive among horror fans and Halloween fans. There's a subset of horror fans who are Halloween fans as well that hate this movie because there's no Michael Myers in it and has nothing to do with the rest of the franchise. There's a subset of horror fans who aren't necessarily Halloween fans, who maybe enjoy some of the movies here or there, myself included, that didn't like this movie because it's just bonkers. But then there's the cult. This is a cult movie, obviously. This movie has a cult following who defend it to the death. So that's the historical context of how we got to where we are today. So let's talk a little bit about the movie. The movie is called Season of the Witch. Well, specifically Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Now, there is another unrelated horror movie also called Season of the Witch, which makes talking about this movie confusing if you're not being very specific, because people get confused easy when you're talking about horror movies that have similar titles. So, the movie basically is about a doctor who is a deadbeat dad and an alcoholic who finds out through a series of events that there is this mask company producing these Halloween masks called Silver Shamrock that has some nefarious thing going on, and people are dying who are connected to this company. So he goes to investigate with the daughter of one of the victims of the mask company. Long story short, and spoilers, by the way, I'm going to spoil this movie. He uncovers a conspiracy of a cult of witches, which is why it's called Season of the Witch, who are pissed off that Samhain, the pagan ritual that was the historical basis of the holiday we have today, Halloween, isn't taken seriously anymore. Now, this movie is also smack dab in the middle of Reagan-era 80s, Reaganomics. So it's also a commentary on consumerism. It's like, hey, you don't take our culture seriously, you're just commercializing it for profit. So they do have a legitimate beef in that regard. But their answer to make people respect the holiday is to murder children, which is stupid. Now, there is a subplot that never gets resolved where a stone piece of Stonehenge mysteriously disappeared, and somehow this small town mask factory in the middle of podunk nowhere has that Stonehenge, but they never explain it. He literally says, oh, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, and then he doesn't tell them. He's just like, you wouldn't believe it, so blah, 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 move on. Somehow, I guess, in the lore of this film, the magic of the Stonehenge stone and sci-fi witch technology of the 80s somehow combined. It's a little bit weird science-y there. With their ultra-advanced Terminator-esque androids. Cyborgs? Are they androids or cyborgs? I'm not 100%. But anyways, they've got artificial humans in this movie doing their magic. And I guess at a certain point on Halloween, they're going to air the commercial on TV, and all the kids wearing their masks are going to get hypnotized by the commercial. It's going to activate a chip in the masks, and their heads are going to melt. And bugs are going to come out of their noses, and they're going to be corpses. And that's how these witches are going to make people afraid of Samhain again. So that's the gist of the plot. First time I watched this movie, I had no idea what was going on. I was confused. And if you know me at all, or watched any of my other videos, you know I am not a fan of meta references to films within a franchise referencing other films in the franchise's films. I hate that. That's one of the reasons why I vehemently hate, with a violent passion, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I will never forgive that fucking movie for shitting on my most beloved franchise. I hate that film. This movie does the same thing. They're showing Halloween 1978, John Carpenter, Laurie Strode, blah, 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 Michael Myers, as a movie on TV. Which means it's like, all right, it's a reference. It pisses me off. So that's strike one. Strike two, I've already bitched about the pagan thing. Strike three is they don't really explain the artificial humans. We see one that is made out of clockwork using, I'm going to guess, is steampunk or pre-steampunk era technology from the Revolutionary War period or colonial America, which doesn't make sense, but I guess it's supposed to tell us that these witches have had this ability to create artificial humans for a very long time, allegedly. So let's talk about the film itself. The vast majority of the film is presented as sort of a mystery. Kind of a almost, but not quite, film noir. You have a man who's a doctor playing the role of the private eye, the detective, and you have a coroner who is investigating the charred remains of one of the artificial humans who burned itself alive after murdering a man in the hospital who was the witness of what was going on. And then you have the daughter of that said victim. So the coroner is sort of also treated as like an investigator who's trying to solve the mystery of why does this human have, metal skin, etc., etc. And you have the doctor and the daughter of the alleged doctor of the victim. Spoilers. We later find out she was an artificial human the whole time, which is somewhat problematic because they have a very porno adult bedroom scene in the cheesy, sleazy motel where they basically make an artificial baby, but we don't see the end result of that. This movie's a hot fucking mess. Now, obviously it does have its fans, so I'm going to do my best to point out the things I think people like about it by way of the things I did like about it. And the first thing I liked about it was the music. I mean, obviously it's a John Carpenter film. I am not a huge fan of John Carpenter's library of work, but I don't hate everything he's done. But regardless, even the movies he's done that I didn't enjoy, I will at least admit I enjoy the music. Because he is a musical genius, even if he's kind of, senile in the filmmaking department. He at least knows what he's doing in the music department. And this movie has a good score. It does. I'll at least admit that. Unfortunately, as a part of that score is the world's most god-awful, obnoxiously annoying, migraine-inducing commercial ever put to film, and they play it like 1,200 times in this film. And I'm not going to sing the goddamn song. You can Google it. You can go to Spotify and fucking burn out your eardrums if you want, or YouTube or whatever. I ain't going to do that. The commercial itself is so obnoxious that is like, even if I didn't have any other beefs with this movie, I wouldn't watch it again just because that commercial is so obnoxious. I don't want to ever hear that ringing in my ears again. But the rest of the music is good. So, it's like half a point for good music, but then it loses a point for that shitty commercial, so we're still in the negative. This movie hasn't won me over yet. I have seen The Fog, Night of the Creeps, other movies featuring Tom Atkins as featuring Tom Atkins, Creepshow, which I just reviewed recently. So yeah, I'll put Tom Atkins being in this movie in the pros column. He's a pretty cool dude as far as, he knows he's a B-movie actor, and he owns it. And when I say owns it, I mean he's like Barbara Crampton or Linnea Quigley. He's like, yeah, this is who I am. Let's fucking do this thing. So kudos to him for that. So that's a point in the pros column, right? So right now this movie's at negative 15 and it's only earned 2 points back. So it ain't looking good yet. It ain't looking good yet. It's very slow paced, which is, if you know me with my bipolar and BPD and other mental health attention span issues, that's a problem for me. I have a major issue with the original Halloween from 1978 because it takes 60 goddamn minutes before the fucking movie starts. Jesus Christ. If you're going to make a 90-minute movie, you better start your shit rolling at the 20-minute mark or you fucking already goddamn lost me. And I've bitched and harped about that enough already, so I'm going to move past that. This movie is the same sin. At least, unlike Halloween, we get kills spread throughout. And we get the obnoxious commercial, which, shakes me back into consciousness because it takes me out of my coma that this boring-ass movie put me in. So, I guess it's not so much a pacing issue as it is just, Jesus Christ, that commercial. God damn it. The tone of the movie is off to me. It's got that, it doesn't have that cheesy 80s B-movie tone you would expect. It's got that pseudo-noir tone that is out of place in a cheesy 80s B-movie because it feels like they want you to take the shit that is happening seriously, but, nobody involved in the production is taking it seriously, so why should I? It is very obvious to me that the people making this movie didn't give a fuck. They just got plastered, snorted some coke, showed up, read their lines, went home, passed out, and then, went on and did better things down the road in their careers. This was just like a fucking Tuesday for them. They were like, ah, shit, or a Monday. This movie feels like a Monday. You know, everyone's like, God damn it, I don't want to be here. And I already gave it a point for having Tom Atkins. Even Tom Atkins acts like he doesn't even know he's on set. He's just like, oh, drinks? I'm in. And they're like, all right, action. And he's like, wait, what? Oh, I guess I'm doing a film. Okay, whatever. He doesn't seem like he's into it at all, which shows. He probably thought he was, it was the office party. He didn't realize it was an actual fucking job. No disrespect to Tom Atkins. I think it's more of a, this movie is just so god-awful boring that everybody involved was like, let's just get through this shit and then let's go do something else tomorrow. I won't say it looks like it has a rushed production, but reading the behind the scenes, it kind of did have a rushed production because the studio was like, no, fucking Halloween movies, make bank. We need another one right now. And this movie bombed and the studio was like, all right, what the fuck went wrong? And they just saw John Carpenter's name at the top of the list and like, all right, cross him off, get him out. And for better or worse, the franchise went forward, without John Carpenter. And I'm going to say for better or worse, because Halloween 2 is one of the few in the franchise I actually enjoy, somewhat. It's at least a legitimate, proper slasher movie, where the first one is at best a pseudo-slasher. Still trying to figure things out, but it was like, yeah, we're not there yet. It took fucking Sean S. Cunningham in Friday the 13th to say, no, that was fine. This is how you do a slasher. And then, of course, John Carpenter's like, oh, you want to rip me off? Bet. And then he went and made Halloween 2, which is a better movie than the original Friday the 13th. I will admit that. And then it was on. Then it was like, all right, race to the top. Who's going to make the best slasher movie? And I'm going to argue Friday the 13th did the best slasher movies, but, everybody ripped them off. Nobody was ripping off Halloween anymore because everybody recognized, like, oh yeah, that was that 70s slasher. No, this is the motherfucking 80s. We just need more coke, more tits, more kills. Anyways, I know that's a little tangent, but the reason for that tangent is because the expectation is John Carpenter is making a Halloween movie in the middle of the 80s. He's already done Halloween 2. Friday the 13th is already rocking and rolling. You would expect this to be a bonkers cocaine-fueled 80s slasher movie or a bonkers cocaine-filled 80s sci-fi horror B movie, and it's none of the above. It's just this boring-ass movie about a doctor who goes to a hotel, fucks a robot, goes to a toy factory, blows up the toy factory, and then goes insane, screaming on top of his lungs into the phone at the guy who is just literally trying to make a paycheck at the TV station. And the dude's like, chill, dude. I don't have any control over the commercials. Because that's not how it works at a TV station. The guy who answers the phone at the front desk is not master control. And master control is not traffic. And I'm not going to get into how TV stations work. But literally, the people who answer the phone at the TV station are not the ones putting the commercials on the air. And the guy in the back who is keeping the, broadcast going is not responsible for the commercials on the air either. That's a whole separate department. It's already taken care of. The guys at the TV station are just there, watching the same thing you're watching at home, making sure there's no dead air. That's literally, I was master control. I worked master control at a TV station, so I know how it works. But anyways, this movie's got too many sins for me to take it seriously. It's too boring for me to give a shit. Nobody responsible for this movie acted like they gave a shit. And this was the movie that basically almost killed John Carpenter's career. Even though he had just done The Thing, he was like, well, fuck, am I ever going to work again? Definitely not on the franchise he birthed. So it was like, all right, this movie just fucking sucks. 9 Ways Till Sunday. It's like, nope, this movie just fucking sucks. I can't find enough good in this movie for me to recommend it. Even after listening to other podcasts analyze it, rewatching it, going into it with a fresh appreciation of Tom Atkins, I still come out on the other side of, don't watch this fucking movie. For the love of God, don't watch this fucking movie. I tried. I gave it an honest to God effort, and I can't fucking do it.